Alright, so we're starting the tier list off. So as you guys know, my tier lists are A, B, C, D, F, and just basically down to the worst. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started talking about it, and we're gonna start through release order. Oh wait, hang on. Let me fix this for a minute, cause I don't like the way it looks. Let me make sure it's all in order. Alright, it's in order. Alright, so first up, we're going to talk about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And easily for this one, I'm going to put that film right up in that A tier. It's just one of the best Disney animated films. Not because it's the first feature-length animated movie, but because it's just a classic Disney animated film. And as it's the first Disney film, they even made a ride at Disney World about it. The characters, the animation, the story. I mean, the story's a bit simple to understand. The songs, pretty much everything about this film is just amazing. So, I absolutely love it. Then we have Pinocchio. It's the same level as Snow White, but I would say Snow White is actually better. Because with Pinocchio, once again, it has that classic Disney formula with amazing characters, amazing music, amazing animation. But the problem here is that it has this issue with kids drinking alcohol and drinking beer. Oh, that's the same thing. Kids drinking alcohol and smoking. And to me, that just seems very disturbing to me of why they would put that in a film like this, especially for a 1940s film. But this movie was made at a different time, so I understand what they were doing. Then we have Fantasia. This is definitely a mixed film for me, so I'm actually going to put this in the C tier. Now, to be clear, I think that this movie is very boring. Spending 2 hours watching very slow artwork scenes come to life, it's cool, but it's like you're spending 2 hours just sitting through it. And then people are talking, and then they explain it, and it's like you just want to watch another Disney movie. Like, you want to watch Pinocchio and Snow White. You don't want to watch this. And so I think of all the Disney films, it's probably the least rewatchable. But as a animation level, it's amazing. And even that, and probably my favorite scene of the entire movie is the Mickey Mouse sequence, just because it's a lot more memorable than all the other ones. But I still kind of enjoyed this movie. Then we got Dumbo. I'm actually going to put this in the A tier because I just think that this is an amazing movie. I think the animation is great. I think the story is great. I think the characters are interesting and likable. Once again, we just get more classic scenes, especially with that pink elephant sequence. It's all great the way they do things. Once again, it does have that problem with young characters smoking, I guess, but that didn't really bother me in the movie because there was so much, because it was kind of short, but it did a lot of great stuff in a very short time. Then we got Bambi. I'm actually going to put this in the C tier. Now, there's a lot of things to like about Bambi. Of course, the artwork, the animation in this movie is just amazing. This is like one of the Disney films where I feel like when I sometimes look at it or when I'm watching it, it just makes me feel like I'm looking at a painting. Like a painting just come to life. And to me, that's interesting ways to tell a story. The characters, Bambi, for example, is very adorable. Bumper is a very cute character. Flower, the skunk, is a very cute character. So it's pretty adorable. But the problem here is that the story just does not make sense. What exactly is it trying to be? And even then, it's based off of like a great story. So, but even the story in this movie is not that great. So it's a little bit difficult to rate when you're talking about it. Next up, we're going to be talking about Saludos Amigos. Now, if you saw my Disney ranking from March, when Raya and the Last Dragon came out, you know that this is actually my least favorite one, and I'm actually going to put this in the F tier. Personally, for me, I just thought that not just this film, but really pretty much the entire wartime era, I just think is terrible. Just because there's not many films I like to go back and rewatch, and there's not really any good movies. Some of them are just kind of awful, and then others are just plain out bad, or are just plain out okay, or at least rewatchable. And this is one that's just so confusing because it's trying to tell a story, a documentary about South African Americans and stuff like that, and it has all these shorts with Donald Duck and Goofy, and it just does not make sense in anything that it's doing. So this is a movie that does not work, and plus, it's also the shortest Disney movie there is, like 40 something minutes. So I don't even know how it's included in the Disney canon. Next up, we have the Three Caballeros, which I think is actually a bit better than Saludos Amigos, but it's not all that better. Personally, for me, I think it's a lot more fun with the characters and exploring Mexico and Christmas, Christmas in Mexico. But the problem here is that the story itself just does not make sense. It's fun to see Donald Duck interact with these characters, and it's also fun to go on the ride. I think it's probably one of my favorite rides at Disney World, but the story here is just not that great. It's just you're not really sure what you're trying to look at here. All right, next up is Make My Music, and I'm actually gonna skip that because I haven't seen it. So going on to Fun and Fancy Free, and I'm actually gonna put that in the D tier as well. I think that this is a fun movie, but it's not a great movie. It's fun. I think there's two shorts. The bear one is pretty interesting. It's pretty funny. Very cartoonish in the way it's done. And then the other one is Mickey and the Beanstalk. I think that's a little bit cooler, especially. I love how Disney is kind of taking... I love how sometimes, Disney... I love how Disney kind of tells fairy tales or something, or famous stories, and makes them their own, except with their characters. They've done that with Mickey's Christmas Carol, where Scrooge is actually McScrooge in that Christmas Carol movie with Jim Carrey. You have the Three Musketeers, or Mouseketeers if you'd like to call it. And once again, the Mickey and the Beanstalk short is another great short and another great example of that. So I loved this short, but it's not really a great movie though, because it's just two shorts. That's it. It's nothing else. Then we got Melody Time. I'm actually going to put this in the F tier. I just think that this movie's awful. This movie is just trash. It pretty much is just a ripoff of Fantasia, and I don't think it's a very good one. It's just bad. The animation is at least good. There's not really any memorable sequences. I guess the only thing that's memorable about it is that literally when you want to watch it on Disney Plus, it literally opens with Donald Duck and one of the Three Caballeros. So it's at least memorable for that, but at the same time, it's not that memorable. Then we got The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. I'm going to put this in the D tier. Once again, much like Fun and Fancy Free, it's just two shorts about Mr. Toad and Ichabod. I would say both of them are equally enjoyable, and they're very cartoonish in their own ways, and so I like them for that. But at the same time, they don't do anything interesting. But it's just not my favorite movie. But it is my favorite of the it's my favorite of the wartime era. Then we get to the Silver Age, and this is where I feel like where the stakes are very low, but I feel like that they were trying to be like some of the Golden Age films, which I appreciate that. So first up, we have Cinderella, which I'm actually going to put that in the B tier. Yes, we have our first film in the B tier is Cinderella, and I really enjoy this movie. They took the story, they took the story of the classic fairy tale and did it with Disney. And this is probably the only movie that they've actually ever done that's good. I saw Slipper in the Rose, it was okay. I saw Into the Woods, it was fine. But this movie is definitely the pinnacle of all those Cinderella films. And especially how it's a Disney film because Cinderella is such a classic character. This is the definitive one. The songs are great, the animation is great. Everything about this movie is pretty much good. But it's not top tier Disney, but it is one that I really enjoy. Then we got Alice in Wonderland. Once again, this is just a Disney film that I'm not the biggest fan of. I've never really stood for it. I like the idea of what things are not and what things are different. It's a little bit confusing at times, but but at the same time, I do kind of get it. The characters are likable. Not really any of the songs are memorable, but the movie is okay. That's all I gotta say. Then we got Peter Pan, a film that I actually saw this year, back in June to lead up to Encanto. And I'm actually gonna put this in the D tier between Fantasia and Bambi. Personally, for me, I think that this movie has a lot of enjoyable stuff. The animation is pretty good. The songs are pretty good. The characters are likable. Captain Hook is such a great villain. There's just a lot of things to like about it. But I think the biggest issue is that they do it a lot. So maybe, but at the same time, I like Bambi because it just has a lot of classic stuff. While Peter Pan just does a lot and it just doesn't work for me a little bit. But I still enjoyed though. Then we got Lady and the Tramp. I'm actually going to put this in the C tier. I enjoy this movie. It's fun. Much like Peter Pan and Bambi, it has classic moments. It of course just has great stuff throughout it. Classic moments, especially the spaghetti kiss. The songs are pretty memorable. The dogs are cute. The theme about, exploring life off the chain is interesting. But overall, it's not the best Disney film. The story is just very simple. It's not really doing anything big. Then we got Sleeping Beauty, a film that I actually watched today because I'm actually watching all the Disney films just to rewatch them, get my new thoughts on them, and hopefully reach to films I haven't seen. And Sleeping Beauty, I enjoy. It's an enjoyable film. Where exactly would I put it, per se? I would actually put it here. It definitely has some classic moments. Maleficent is a menacing villain, especially the way they brought her back from Cinderella playing the evil stepmother. Very cool. Some cool action sequences, some cool animation. Aurora was sweet, but I think the movie just feels too rushed. Where it's like you're going too fast, but then when you get to the Aurora stuff and she's older, it's like it kind of goes a little bit too slow, but at the same time it still finishes nicely. Then we have 101 Dalmatians, another B-tier film that I think is good, and this is actually another one I saw today. I just think that this is a good movie with likable characters, great and pretty cool animation, and once again, much like Lady and the Tramp was, this is the better dog story, and it actually works. Cruella de Vil is a great villain and works as the crazy lunatic that wants the puppies. So that works. Then we got The Sword and the Stone. I'm not the biggest fan of this film, and this is another film I actually saw this year, so we're going in the F tier. This is like they took a story. They were making a story about the classic fairy tale, and they couldn't even do it right. And to me, that's just disappointing. So I guess I'm not gonna say I enjoyed it. I guess you could say there are some cool sequences, I guess, but that's it. It doesn't do anything. The Jungle Book, a film that I actually really like, and I love this movie, so it's going in B tier. Not a top tier, just because the story is a little bit too simple. It kind of sucks, but the characters, the songs, the animation is cool, so I love it. Then we got the Aristocats. This is one that I feel like a lot of people are hating on, just because it finds a way to mix in all these different elements of other Disney movies like Lady and the Tramp, 101 Dalmatians, and make it actually a fun story with likable characters. And I think that's kind of interesting, even though it's not so clear with the story, but at the same time, I still enjoy it. Then we got Robin Hood, another Disney movie that I'm just not the biggest fan of. I hate this movie. It's just bad. The characters you don't really enjoy. It's just plain out bad. I just don't like Robin Hood. It's just, some of the action is cool. Robin Hood, you don't really get any development with his character. But I just don't like this movie. Hit my mic there. But it's just a bad movie. Then we got The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And I'm actually going to put this in the B tier as well, just because I think both of the Winnie the Pooh movies we'll talk about the other one later, but I think this one is just solid cuteness entertainment of likable characters, and that's it. It's just likable characters, fun times. Though the story is not clear because it's just multiple stories in a book, and that's kind of a problem that they had in the wartime era. Then we got The Rescuers. Once again, a Disney film that I'm just not the biggest fan of. I wasn't a big fan of the story. I guess you could say I felt a little bit bad for the kid that got captured, but that's it. I didn't really care for anything of it. Then we got The Fox and the Hound, a film that I actually watched with my sister, but I watched most of the scenes before, like on YouTube, or at least in spring break of 2015. But I enjoyed this movie. It's fine. It's enjoyable, but it's not the best movie out there. Alright, so we're actually going to be skipping The Black Cauldron, The Grey Mouse Detective, and Oliver and Company, because I haven't seen those yet, so hopefully this week or sometime next week or something, I'll watch them. Alright, now we're talking about The Little Mermaid. Once again, we're actually getting back to great Disney, and this is actually going to go in the top tier. I personally just love this movie. It's just a great movie with great characters, great animation, great music. And the fact that it actually won an Oscar, a nominee back in the day, it was just great. Ursula's great villain. Though the only problem I have with it is Ariel's character. I mean, she's likable, she's fun, especially played by Jodie Benson. But when you get to the end of the film, her goal doesn't change. She still is dedicated to what she wants. And I understand that, but there's no change. Like, there's no lesson that you learned. So that's kind of the disappointing part about it. Then we got The Rescuers Down Under, once again. A film that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I still do kind of enjoy. It's definitely better than the original Rescuers. But it's not better. But it's not great. And it's not really good either. It's enjoyable. It's fine. But I don't think I'll watch this movie ever again. Then we got Beauty and the Beast. A great Disney animated film, going in the top tier. Just the animation, the characters, the songs, music, everything about this movie is just absolutely amazing. Though I don't watch it much. That's the only thing. I don't watch it much because I don't watch it as much because I just don't want to. But when I watch it, I love it. Aladdin, same thing. I mean, I feel like I watched the remake more just because it's a lot more rewatchable. And I have to say, I mean, I love the original Aladdin more, but I absolutely love the new Aladdin that they made in 2019. Then we have the Lion King. Once again, my actual favorite animated film and my favorite Disney animated movie of all time. Lion King is the pinnacle Disney film. It's amazing. Characters are great, animation, songs, music. It pretty much does what the Renaissance did, and where it's memorable songs, likable characters. It's all of the Renaissance era's strengths, and all told in a great story. So I think it nails it at that. Then we got Pocahontas. This is a bland movie. I feel once again this feels like Bambi, where they did a lot of stuff. But at the same time, Bambi, I of course put it in the C tier because, well, actually, let me confirm where Pocahontas is going. Bambi, when I put Bambi, I put it there because it actually had memorable moments, and I actually did enjoy the film. Pocahontas, I do enjoy the movie, but there's just a lot going on in that it kind of drags my entertainment out of it, and I don't really understand the whole story of it. So that's kind of my issues with that movie. But the animation, the songs, and the characters are pretty enjoyable, but the story is just very weird. Then we're gonna have to skip Hunchback because I haven't seen it. So let's go on to Hercules. And I enjoy Hercules. I think it's a very enjoyable film. But this is actually going to go in the C tier just because I enjoy it. It's fun. The first half is just kind of... I feel like that the second half... I don't know. There's some elements in here with the silliness that just does not work. And the stuff with Hades just does not work. But it's completely fun. I love the dramedy side of it. I love the characters. I think some goofiness works, but not all of it works. That's just the thing. But I still really enjoyed this movie, and I saw it like in 2018, so it's just a really enjoyable film. Then we got Mulan. I'm actually, you're gonna be surprised about this, but I'm actually gonna put this in the A tier. I actually really like Mulan. I just love this movie. From the I remember I watched Mulan from last year. I just fell in love with that movie. The characters, the animation, the action, the story, the music, everything about the movie was just amazing. Though I don't connect with stories about Chinese people all that much, but I love martial arts stories. And then we got Tarzan, a good Disney film, but not great. And I'm actually going to put this in the B tier. I think that this is a very good Disney film. The animation is absolutely stunning. The songs that Phil Collins wrote for this film are absolutely amazing. The movie overall is just really good. The characters are funny. The problem here, I don't really know. It's just not one of Disney's best. But it's very cartoonish in the way it's done. Then we got Fantasia 2000, which I actually think is the better film for the Fantasia films. And I'm actually going to put this at the, let's put it in front of Hercules. Now, I enjoy Hercules more, but Fantasia 2000 is the better film for me because I just enjoy everything else more than they did. The animation is great. Every scene is just a lot more memorable, though Fantasia, I feel like wasn't watchable other than that Mickey Mouse sequence. But this Fantasia 2000 is watchable, and the sequences are even enjoyable with the way they're animated. So I love it. Well, I don't love it, but I do like it. So we have to skip Dinosaur and go to Emperor's New Groove, and I'm actually going to put this in the B tier. Now, I know about 2 months ago I was raving about it, and I still do love it. But there's something about it that, because of how funny it is, it just kind of drags me out of the movie because you want to feel the intrigue when all the potions are falling and stuff, but it's like you can't because it's just too funny. But the movie is great with those two leads. The music is great. The animation is okay. Yzma is a great villain. The movie overall is just great, and it is one of those stories where the villain is selfish, where the hero is selfish, but who cares? Atlantis the Lost Empire, gotta skip that and go on to Lilo and Stitch. And I enjoy Lilo and Stitch. I think it's actually better than Tarzan, honestly. But at the same time, it's not one of Disney's best. I think the animation here is great. I like how it's a mixture of, I like how it has the Elvis songs in here. I like Lilo and Stitch's character arc. I love all of that stuff they did with it. I just love how it's so weird, and it's also adorable at the same time. And it really does a great stuff with Disney. Then we got Treasure Planet, a film that I was impressed with, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I don't know really where I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it here just because I thought it was a good movie. It actually has a really good cast, honestly. It has a good cast. But it's just not the best Disney movie. Then we got Brother Bear. Actually a very good Disney movie. People hate on this movie too much. And I'm actually going to put this at towards the top of B tier. Because when you do look at it, some stuff doesn't really work. But I love the story about these brothers and where the older brother becomes an eagle of guidance. The other brother's totem is wisdom, and Kenai's totem is the bear of love. And I love how you actually have a bear involved, but then you actually, you become the bear and learn to love. And you learn that bears aren't that dangerous. And so I thought that was a cool theme. And of course, Phil Collins smacks hard with the music in this one. The music is just re-songable. Though I love the songs that he does in Tarzan even more. And also the animation is great. Though when you look at it now, like the trailers, it just looks bad. But the animation is great. Now we're going to have to skip Home on the Range, Chicken Little, and Meet the Robinsons. Because once again, I have not seen those. And those are the last ones. Every other movie on this list up to Bolt and Encanto I have seen. So Bolt, I'm actually going to put this at the top of C tier. I think that this is a good movie. It's not great. It's not bad. I just feel like it's not as rewatchable as some of the other ones. It's good. The story is good. It also just feels like a copy of Toy Story. Kind of like how they did with uh, The Secret Life of Pets, where they basically made it a Toy Story with dogs and pets. But I actually liked that because it was interesting enough because you got the pets doing funny things. Then we got The Princess and the Frog, a great film from the revival era. And let me just say this: pretty much all the revival era movies are just great, and they have some of my favorite Disney films of all time. And this is no exception. This is easily going in that A tier level. I just think that Princess and the Frog is a great movie. It's just great animation, great characters. I love the story. I love the story with Tiana, how she just wants to be, she wants to make enough money to get her own restaurant. Oh, hang on. It had to reload. Hope nothing got fixed. I mean, never mind. That came out wrong. Sorry, it does that when I think it's on too long. Hey, I'm getting used to this computer, alright? Alright, next up we have Tangled. This is actually going to be one that I love, and it's going in the A tier. I absolutely love this movie. I love how they actually took the story of Tangled and brought it to the big screen, and it's just amazing. The characters are great, and honestly, since this is about a story about a princess, I think that this is the better film. Cinderella is good, but Tangled is just the better film, and you actually care about the characters, which I absolutely love. Then we got Winnie the Pooh, a film that I actually saw about a month ago, but I enjoyed it, and this is actually, once again, much like the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh, it's just more pure enjoyment of Winnie the Pooh. It's just likable, it's lighthearted, it's also pretty funny, but at the same time, much like the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the story is just not clear, because it deals with trying to find Eeyore a new tail, and everybody thinking that Christopher Robin got kidnapped. Instead, he just went to school, and he's trying to teach his friends about that. And so I think that's a little weird, but overall, I really enjoyed the movie. Then we got Wreck-It Ralph, Disney movie that I absolutely love, and this is actually going to go in that A tier. Once again, Disney knocks it out of the park with another great Disney classic. I love the animation, I love the characters, I love the story, especially the way the world is crafted. Ralph's character arc is amazing, and his interactions with Vanellope are great. And this is just one of Disney's best films. And I love the way they did Ralph's character in this movie. Frozen, actually one of my favorites, and I have to say, this is actually going to go in A tier. I personally just love Frozen. It's probably the Disney film that I've rewatched the most. Not because I've rewatched the most, but it's just so rewatchable that I remember watching it all the time when I was younger. But now that I've gotten older, I don't watch as much as I do anymore. But I still love it. The characters, the animation, the songs, everything about this movie is just perfect. I don't see a single flaw with this movie. And if you're one of my friends that loves it, if you know, you know. Then we got Big Hero 6, a movie that I actually love. And this is actually going to go in that A tier, and that A category. I'm actually going to, let me put it in front of Mulan. I just think it's a great story. I love how they don't just brush off emotions. They actually make it feel real, because that's what it is. And the way it actually turns into a superhero story is great. Baymax is such a likable character. The other characters are likable too. Our villain is great. It's just a great movie all around. Then we got Zootopia, another great Disney film. That for me, I'm actually going to put this in front of Little Mermaid and behind Tangled. I just think that this is a great movie. The world is crafted. The way there's a lot of great ways that the city is working. That scene with the sloths at that RMV is great. The story of kind of dealing with, but making an adult story with cute, likable animal characters, that's interesting in the way they did it. And it even stuck out to kids. Kids still loved it. And even I love it too. And I understand the themes for this movie. So I love it. Then we got Moana. This is one that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I still do love. And I'm actually going to put this in that B tier. Now, it's still amazing. The animation, the songs are great, especially since it's written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I just think that this movie is okay. Well, I mean, it's not. It's great. It's great. But the story here, well, not really the story. It's pretty much great. It's just much like Princess and the Frog and all that. It's like when I watched it for the first time, I was like, this is a great movie. But I don't know if I want to rewatch this every single time. And that's kind of what I felt on it. But I still absolutely love this movie. Then we got Ralph Breaks the Internet. Yeah, I was disappointed with this movie. Now, it's not bad in any sense, but it's not great. It's fun enough. It's going to go right there in that C tier category. I just think that this is an enjoyable film. I like the way they developed Ralph and Penelope's relationship. I love the Disney princesses sequence. That's probably one of the best moments in Disney history. The movie overall is just enjoyable. Just the ending itself just does not work for me. The whole third act, besides that sequence with the Disney princess saving each other, that's great. But everything else is pretty much okay. Then we got Frozen 2, which I'm actually going to put that in that B tier category as well. Just where would I put it? I'm going to put it right there. I just think that this is an amazing movie. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to put it at the bottom of B tier, like right here. Just because I think all the other movies are great. But Frozen 2 is even better. I think the story is cool. The way they actually reveal why Anna and Elsa's parents went missing. The animation is great. The songs are great. It's just a great movie. Not as good as the original Frozen, but I still really enjoy this movie. Then we have Raya and the Last Dragon. This is one that I think is great movie. Possibly my favorite movie of this year. Just because I think that this movie is great in everything they're doing. The characters are great. The way that it's explored, the action, the animation, the story, the characters, everything about this movie is absolutely insane. It's also just very rewatchable. So for me, this is actually going to go in the top tier, but it's going to go in the sort of in the bottom tier of A tier. But I still absolutely love this movie. And then finally, we're talking about Encanto. And I'm just going to say right here, I don't think that this movie's great. It's not great. It is good, but it's not great. And to be honest with you, I'm actually going to put this, I'm actually going to put this at the bottom of the C. I'm actually going to put it in the middle of the C tier. I think that this is a good movie. The animation is pretty stunning. The characters are likable. The songs, especially how it's played by Lin-Manuel Miranda, it's great. The story is fine. It's pretty much just all good, but I'm not the biggest fan of this movie. There's just too much that kind of goes into it and the way the story is crafted. But overall, I did enjoy the film. And this is my tier list for all 60 Disney animated feature films. So that's my tier list. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My Instagram is Marvel6 and my TikTok is MarvelFan. If you guys don't understand those names, head to my back section so you can follow me on all social medias. I'm also on Letterboxd. It's the same name as Instagram. Marvel_6_. I'm also on Discord, which is my Instagram name. Don't follow me on Snapchat because I'm not doing anything on there. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.